Hi, this is Natalie Sanford. I'm going to be doing my last teaching video for week 13. It's going to be about wills. I was able to teach my husband, and I will do a little video about what we talked about. So for all of us, death is inevitable. So most people have not done a written will. In fact, about 70% of Americans don't have any formal or official plans in place for after they die. There's some notable people that have died without a will, such as Abraham Lincoln, Aretha Franklin with an $80 million estate. And a little planning is going to be able to go a long way with this. So writing a will is a way that you can have a say in what happens to your property, your finances, your children, and any other personal items that you have after you pass on. Estate planning is where you are planning and arranging what's going to happen with your property and personal items once you die or become incapacitated to manage them. So this can be a personal estate or a business entity's estate. And the plans will include who will oversee and manage everything once you're gone, and all of the items that are in the estate and the property itself. So it's not just for the wealthy. Anyone can have an estate plan or a will. It doesn't have to be any, there's no certain limit or a minimum that you have to be able to plan for that. Most people are not going to do a will because they think of the cost and they don't want to invest in that, or they just don't think they have enough stuff to be able to cover that, or they just don't want to face the discomfort of kind of facing the inevitable. So it's not too expensive to be able to do that. If you're going to get a professional attorney to do that, it's going to be anywhere from $500 to $1,200, or you can do one through LegalZoom for about $100, but you will have to have two witnesses and also a notary sign that before it becomes a legal document. And then about half of the states do have what's called a holographic will, which is a handwritten will. It cannot be typed or digital. It has to be handwritten in the person's handwriting. And each state is going to vary on what they accept and the requirements and provisions they require for that to be a legal document. You just have to check with the state you live in. So the ones that I found were Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Hawaii, Idaho, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Michigan, Mississippi, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Jersey, North Carolina, North Dakota, South Dakota, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia, West Virginia, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. And then what happens if we don't have a will? The answer to that is going to vary state by state. If you die without a will in the state of Idaho, your property will be distributed to your closest living relatives, starting with your spouse and then down to your children. And then it will go to closest living relatives, such as parents and grandparents, siblings, and then kind of down the line to that, depending on who's living and who you have available. So it is important to just have that in place so that your family doesn't have to get left with that at the end and try to figure out and fight about, possibly. It's particularly important to have this written document and legal document if you have children. The will should include the following: what people or organizations will inherit the property, who will serve as guardian or care for the children, who will manage the property if you leave it to minors, and then who will serve as executor. So that's the person who's going to carry out the wishes of your will. And for example, each member of a committed couple, married or unmarried, may choose to leave all of their property to each other in the case of death. And if they die at the same time, they may choose to leave everything to their children or to another party. And then that can be divided. So a person can decide to leave half of their assets to their sibling and the other half to a charity. There's many ways you can divide the assets and choose where they go once you're passed on. So on a personal note, this past year and a half has been really big as we've jumped into an endeavor of owning our own business, and we've had children grow up and get married and go on missions and kind of move on to bigger things. And it's become clear that we need to have a plan in place if something were to happen to one or both of me or my husband. So we've had to research and find all of our health insurance, liability, workers' comp, and payroll, and all the things like that to get coverage. And since we are owner operators and our business relies on us heavily to be actively working in the business, and requires us to be healthy enough to run that right now, it would be a really big detriment if we did not have a plan in place. If something were to happen to one of us, it would be pretty devastating. So I can see that that's going to be a top priority coming up for this next year, is to get some kind of formal written documentation and a formal legal will to put into place now that we have a lot more assets with the business and a lot more kind of property, and it could get very complicated now that we have adult children getting married and things like that. It would be a lot easier on them if we had something in place and they knew of our wishes formally. So that concludes this week's teachings, and I won't see another week. So thanks so much for listening.